This conference will now be recorded.
I would like to call the caucus meeting of August 4th, 2020 to order. Present are council members Schuman, Kelly, Lippert, Williamson, Broussard, Heeman, Glassburn, our Planning and Development Director, our Safety and Service Director, our Law Director, and our Clerk of Council. First on the agenda tonight, would like to approve the caucus meeting minutes of June 16th, 2020. If there are any additions or corrections, please let them be known now. Seeing none, those caucus meeting minutes are approved as written. On tonight's agenda, we have a number of pieces of legislation that we will be considering for suspension of the rules. Let it be noted that the Human Resources Director has joined us as well. And on, oh, there's the mayor. Okay, the mayor's joined us. And Mayor, we are beginning by talking about the pieces of legislation that are on suspension of the rule. Let's call those out and then we'll talk about those individually. On first reading, Resolution 2020-74, Ordinance 2020-75, Ordinance 2020-76, Ordinance 2020-86 through Ordinance 2020-91. So those last 6 ordinances are also being considered for suspension of the rule. And we will begin with the first, Resolution 2020-74, condemning racism and encouraging a commitment to fair and equal treatment to all. Mayor Kennedy.
Yes, Madam President. It's been a while since we've met, and I wanted to make sure to get something like this out as soon as possible. I know all of council's on this legislation, so I think it speaks for itself.
Thank you.
Thank
Any
you.
questions or comments from our council members? Any objection to suspension? Seeing none, thank you. The next ordinance is a transfer appropriation ordinance 2020-75 and Finance Director Kupfer.
Hello.
Hello.
I always go over and Chuck, if you could put up the worksheet so that they could view it, that might be helpful for 2020-75. Okay, great. And so if you go down the first page, really these are minor things. We have NOACA dues that we're adding, but they're doing a lot right now for us, and and we've always been like pay it in this year for last year, and they're really hurting, so they want us to try and pay for them this year. And you have to belong to NOACA to be able to be, to be able to have the benefits of all the roads and things like that, and to have a little leverage. Finance, I did not have money for vacation buyout in my budget, and it's part of their union contract. If you could move that down, Chuck, to the next page, actually, toward the bottom. The biggest items on here are the police and fire overtime, and I, along with Don, the safety director, and when we were looking for budget cuts to help us through the pandemic, we asked the chiefs, and they were like, they didn't really want to give up some of that overtime, but they did. But the fire department is, excuse me, the fire department is not out of their overtime yet, but they will be probably in the next month. And they had several people out on sick leave, extended sick leave during the first 6 months here. And they were also down a man, which we just hired a new officer, I think it was this week or last. They're all running together. And then the police department overtime, I think we had cut 80, but we have to add 100 because they've had at least 8 people off on sick. A couple are more extended than others, but it's been a constant rotation. And we've spent, I have the number, but we were also called out on SWAT during at the end of May during the riots, and also we had several protests here that we had to cover with overtime as well. So I believe it was like $31,000 of that is just for those costs. So they took some monies out to move to materials and supplies for some parts of vehicle repairs that they needed. But other than that, it's coming out of the unencumbered carryover balance. Then on the next page, senior center, that's minor. It's just for, they have a music license when and if they open again, they have to pay a license fee for any of the music they play in the song, in their programs. Hotel motel and was for the rifle equipment and supplies. There's a shortage of ammunition and it takes a long time to purchase it. And we didn't have, I don't think we had the rifle in there as for all the ammo that they were going to need. And Don, I think that's only like a few rifles, right? I mean, that's not anywhere near for. Do you have anything to add to that? No? Okay. And then also the law enforcement trust, I believe our polygraph equipment took a nosedive and we didn't anticipate replacing it this year. Is that correct, Don? And so that's why we have to do that unexpectedly. And then if you move down to the next page, Chuck, please, thank you. This is the local coronavirus relief fund. And as you guys have been off, we've been trying to refine our projects and what qualifies and what doesn't qualify. And so this is just to move monies around to cover those projects. And do I have time to show the spreadsheet that I sent you so we can talk about what some of the projects are and what some of the monies are anticipated to be used for? And this spreadsheet has other grants as well that we've either applied for or we've received. And I'm trying to make sure that we don't claim that we spent $20,000 here and then claim it for this grant and this grant and this grant, the same 20. So we're trying to keep track of it. But the lobby and first floor improvements are the largest portion of it, with the $560,000. That's the estimate of probable cost. But some of the monies in this project, we feel if we get the Office of Criminal Justice grant that's down at the bottom, there are some carryover that would cover the $13,000. I think it's like touchless tablets and things like that for signing in and signing out and some other items. So that would be covered by that grant. And then the design for $56,000, which we're already under contract for. And then this one is on tonight at council but it's the touchless apparatus for restrooms, and it's citywide. And those I'm sure we'll talk about it at the committee meeting, but if we do all the bathrooms that are required for faucets, not all the toilets, sanitizer, soap, and non-touch dryers, then it would be like 92,659 is the quote we received, the lowest quote we received. And I feel that some of that wastewater, I'm just trying to make as much money possible. Some wastewater could pay for their own. They have money in their fund that they could handle theirs. They don't have to get it reimbursed through this grant. And then also the criminal justice grant also would qualify for that. And they've added that to the grant. And then and this is just one quote, it could be up to $25,000 for the electrical and installation of 69 hand dryers citywide. That's just a ballpark that we received from one. Obviously, we would go out and get more, but we don't have the capabilities in-house for doing it. So that is one of the items that if I feel that, we may have to go to another or not do them all, or maybe just go to some other method of touchless, dryers. So that part may come out of it if we have to find room for other projects. The PPE and cleaning supplies, we have 27,767, and we've been charging this like a special projects fund, but the EMS also received a grant through EMS of $23,471.20, and in addition, they will be receiving, they've applied. Shaker Heights is the lead, but I think it's like 20 or 30 fire departments are doing a 90-10 for 8,500 of supplies for us, and we would only have to pay $850.74. Then and then there's additional PPE in the other one, and then outside cleaning services, and then also the unemployment. That's another item that I do not have in the budget yet because I'm waiting on final determination, but the state is paying 50%. We're getting a credit for 50% of the unemployment that we've paid. But they keep calling it a credit, and we have to pay it all before we get this credit. But we also, that other 50% that we have to pay will qualify for the CARES Act grant. So that would be $30,357, which there were people furloughed and laid off in both the general fund and also in the rec center fund, so that would help them, and not a lot in Springville, I don't think. I think it's mostly general fund and rec fund. So those are the projects that we have thus far, and it's pretty much full. So, but these are where we're at right now, and we're getting more ideas. Again, we just did another inventory of what PPE we have on hand, and we'll probably need to make another order of it as well. So that's where we're at. So I'm moving monies around just to accommodate those projects in the right line item. And then Springville had to increase $18,000. If you go back to the ordinance, Chuck, thank you, or the worksheet rather. Springville Golf Course and Ballroom had $18,000 that for additional refunds for weddings and outings that have not been able to take place. And then the trust and agency fund, we're adding $40,000 to it, but these are just reimbursements of deposit, engineering deposit. So those monies are already in that fund. We don't have to find those resources from elsewhere. So, and the one thing that is not on here that is recreation, and I spoke with the rec commissioner today, and she's working on that, and it will be in the next transfer ordinance. Any questions?
Councilman Glassburn.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess, I mean, I'm fully supportive of our police and fire using sick time that they are entitled to, but I guess I don't understand the magnitude of the discrepancy. Was it too much of us to ask the 50,000 plus changes in police and fire separately, or are the departments not being consistent with whatever plans that they had?
Director.
Do you want me to answer that or the safety director? Okay,
Whichever
I guess I will answer it.
is perfect.
From what I've been told from the police chief, I mean, that you never anticipate 8 people being off for various reasons. That's a lot. And they were working overtime for the, 30 some thousand. They're already in the hole, by the way. So they're already, and 30,000, we're not going to get reimbursed from Cleveland for using them. No one is. So we have to eat that, which that's part of our agreement with being, mutual aid. So hopefully Cleveland will be there for us someday, right? And the other is you can plan, and yeah, we did take a lot out. I think we took 80 out of police and 50 out of fire. So it was a bold request, but at the time when we talked about it, they still had resources in there, and there were people. I didn't know that they had as many people off, and they didn't verbalize it at the time, so I took it. And the director said it was fine and that they would try and work with it. But I always tell my directors and my division heads that I have their back. I mean, that was aggressive, but necessary at the time. But I always, if something comes up and we have to change it, I'm always willing to do that. And you can tell I've worked through trying to do that. And we'll still be working on the budget. There's more changes that will definitely need to be made.
Any additional questions regarding this transfer ordinance? Councilman Glassburn.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll just state I'm not going to object to the suspension, but I won't be voting yes to us just taking 100,000 plus out of the general fund without a plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Any objections to suspension? Seeing none. The next ordinance to discuss for suspension of the rules is ordinance 2020-76, an ordinance to make and transfer appropriations for the purpose of purchasing reusable masks for residents. Councilwoman Heeman.
Thank you, Madam President. This is an appropriation, at this time, it's an appropriation only. I believe that Council will recall that back in March, we attempted to do something between council money, donations from each of us, and maybe some money from the general fund as a match or something to provide residents with reusable face masks. It just never came to fruition. It was difficult at the time. Tracking down the purchase of them was difficult. Actually, the masks just weren't really available. So that became set aside at that time. Now that we have COVID money available to us, I thought that it might be an opportunity to resurrect that discussion, and that this is the first step of the discussion, which is appropriating up to $50,000 for that purpose. The money, if it's not spent, would be just put back, essentially. If all of it was not used, the remainder then would be put back, but we can't really set out to get pricing and delivery and things until we sort of have a budget for that. So that is the first step, is the appropriation of the money. The masks are reusable up to probably 3 to 5, 6 times. And I realize at this point in time, a lot of people are now feeling like, well, people have masks or they can purchase them. But the reality is that they're probably at about $4 each. And I've probably made 300 for people, because no one can have just 1 or 2 now that the governor has mandated that masks are a requirement. Today he added to that mandate school children. So I believe in our legwork we would be looking at adult masks and children's masks to sort of help an entire family if they could. In the past, we've given, through grant money, lawn and leaf bags to residents. I think this is just an item that could help them as a project from the administration and council jointly, because the purchase order would come from safety service. And again, you know, if we decide not to do it, we just put the money back into the COVID fund. I did speak with the mayor today, and we talked about, you know, whether or not this funding, you know, appropriation would interfere with the project that he has for the city building. And I didn't get the impression that it was an interference. It seems a small amount as opposed to the amount that we were provided by the county. I'd like to also state that, you know, it is taxpayer money, so I think part of it should go to directly help them. And while installing touchless fixtures in our restrooms in public buildings is a big help, that doesn't directly impact each individual family, and this perhaps could. So that is my point of the legislative support of the appropriation at the moment.
Thank you. Mayor Kennedy.
Thank you, Madam President. I would just say I did speak to Councilwoman Heeman today. My personal opinion is we don't need to buy any masks right now, but if we feel like we need something and there's COVID money left over, I believe we need to buy it by the end of the year or return the money. I think we keep our options open, and if there's something we could do for the public, whatever that might be, we do that. But I don't see the need for masks. We've got, even at my company, there's people send us hundreds of masks. At City Hall, people send hundreds of. I mean, we've got a lot of masks. If there's anyone that needs a mask, please send them my way. Thank you, Madam President.
Councilwoman Heeman.
Thank you. So Mayor, are you suggesting that you're going to put out a public statement that any resident can come to you and get a mask from your company? Because I really think that people have to have them now. They're mandated. And I really think that at a cost of $4, you know, per family, and people have to wash them every day if they need to wear them. I don't see why we would not, at this point, just encumber the money, do the research and the work, and then provide the money back. I think treating our residents as a leftover is really probably not the way they would want us to feel about them.
Madam President.
Yeah.
No one would treat them as a leftover at all. As a matter of fact, I have masks here. If anyone needs a mask, they can come see me and I'll get it to them. If we run out, we definitely get more. You know, I don't know. You're creating a solution for what is not a problem. And I get it where, you know, 3-4 months ago, yeah, maybe we would have been troubled for masks, but we're just not, you know, like if there's anyone that you know that needs a mask, please send them my way, and we can 2 weeks from now, we'll see how many people come my way.
Council members, any questions or comments? Councilman Glassburn.
So I guess I'm unclear as to whether we have leftover funds or do not have leftover funds. Director Kopfer mentioned that we might need to buy more PPE for employees. To me, if we have over $500,000 to renovate the lobby of City Hall out of these funds, I guess I don't understand where we would have a shortfall for supplying PPE to residents. Thank you.
Mayor.
I guess I'll handle it. We don't have a shortfall. If we need PPE, we can get PPE. But to sit there to saddle ourselves into masks that no one needs at this point might not be the best opportunity. It's my understanding that we need to spend the money by the end of the year. So maybe we pick this up in October, and if all of a sudden there's a mask shortage, we appropriate for them, or whatever that need is for the residents, we can do. If there is a need for the residents right now for masks, we will get them. We'll buy them. There just isn't.
Councilwoman Heeman, and then Director Kupfer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think part of the dilemma we were in March when we actually wanted to pursue the project was I was working with someone that has an import business. She imports fabric and then can contract for the making of the masks and this and that. So the bottom line to some of those things that fell through were that she'd say, okay, I have this many sitting on a dock, a tarmac, whatever. Do you want them? You not want them? You had to make the purchase, and then they were not available. And so I think that I'd hate to see us with our backs against the wall in some other situation where, in fact, at this point, we're not making a purchase. We're only appropriating the money for us to move forward with the rest of the discussion. So I don't understand, Mayor, your absolute objection to wanting council to research and find out whether or not there is a need, and if there is, that now we've got the money and we can fulfill that need. As I've expressed to you in our conversation today and again tonight, the money will go back into the fund if we decide that it's not something we want to move forward with. I don't think that there's been a survey or study done about how many people need or want masks. I know how many people call me, but again, I don't think that we researched it because the project was so difficult for council back in March. So I would hope that everyone would at least see the value of setting the funds aside now and then doing our homework. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Director Kupfer.
Yes. As I had said, if on the coronavirus or the CARES Act project, the grant sheet that had the other grants, you can see that we have monies applied, and with the other grants that I can take and apply these projects to that, we have like 21,000 available in the materials and so in that grant, and so we still have to take like 25 of it and apply it. So I just took 25 so that we would have the monies and materials and supplies to do that. And we can look at the touchless project. And, this is just an estimate of probable cost with the lobby. There are things that maybe we can look at differently, but it is taking from the projects that are presented as now, which are presented as now, and applying those monies to it. So we're taking away from something that was planned for, but I mean, you guys control the purse strings, so. But just tell us before we order everything.
Thank you. Councilman Schuster.
It seems like I'd be willing to support legislation that said that if we had money left after the projects were all done, that we would spend it for masks for the public. I wouldn't have a problem with that at all, but it's like we're going backwards here. We've already got this money lined up to be used, and then we're going to encumber $50,000 of it. It's going to that could force us to actually take money out of our pocket at the end just to finish up these projects. That seems a little backwards to me. Again, I mean, it's a nice idea and everything. If this had been something that we did at the very beginning, before we created this budget to do all these things we're going to do, great. But now we're talking about encumbering money when we've got these projects to spend all this money, and that seems very backwards to me. And I'll leave it at that.
Councilwoman Heeman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The backwards part, unfortunately, Mr. Schuman, is that, as the governor makes mandates and people have to have these items, the families have to have them. These are their dollars. This is taxpayer dollars. So I don't know why we couldn't have a little bit of a cutback in some of our, let's redo City Hall building in favor of supporting our residents' personal needs with their own taxpayer money. So I'm not saying that we would take months and months to decide this. I think that we would know in pretty short order, what the pricing was, and be able to come back to council to say, well, do we want to move forward with that, or do we want to abandon the project? So I think that the backwards part is not looking into it versus waiting until the end to see if there's something, quote, left over for the residents to have their taxpayer money for them, for a purpose for themselves. So I think that given the fact, Mr. Schuman, that we would look into this quickly and could make decisions quickly, it's not like the money would not be available if we want to put it back. I don't think it would be wasted, so to speak. Thank you.
Director Kopfer, and then I'm going to have to ask council to wrap up this discussion so we can make sure that we are starting our council meeting as close to 8 o'clock as possible. Director Kopfer?
I just want to make a clarification. It's not like we're improving personal buildings here. We're improving the public buildings so that the public has safe access, and we're protecting our employees and them when they enter the building, and safety. So it's a public health improvement. It's not that we're, adding chandeliers and a wet bar. So I do take, it is public improvement. So I understand where the masks are coming from, but I'm just trying to state that there are these projects out there, and I don't want to wait until the end, because they have to be encumbered by the end of October and spent by the end of December. So, and so I'm just saying there is a timeline. We can't wait till the end and take all the money. So I think that a decision needs to be made. I mean, you can still move the money around right now, and the decision doesn't have to be made until we get pricing. So I don't think we could always move it back, but I would still move forward with everything and then lay it all out on the table.
It's not coming back. We've voted. The process will continue without council. Sorry, Madam President. But so that council is aware, we don't get to come back to the money again. We have done away with the RFP process. We gave the mayor that right. Thank you, Madam President. I'm done.
Thank you. Council members, any objection to suspension? Seeing none. The final pieces of legislation to be considered for suspension of the rules this evening are the charter amendments that we are possibly going to send to the electors this fall of our city. So that is the ordinances numbers 2020-86 through 2020-91. And Law Director Garreau, did you want to say anything quickly about these?
Thank you, Madam President. Very quickly, Council, this is an issue that we previously revisited at a council meeting not too long ago. When reviewing the history of it, in the ordinance itself, it states that it's required to be passed not more than 120 days before the general election in November. It occurred to me after they were passed, while watching something on television that said it was 120 days till the general election, that we had missed that window by about 3 days. It's just something that happened. It's a matter of having to redo it. Everybody had it in their ordinance. Everybody missed it. It's just a matter of let's get this done the right way. It's a constitutional requirement. Had it not been caught, those every one of those that went out of the ballot would have been, if they had in fact been passed, would have been invalid. So the better thing is let's get this done, get it taken care of. We've had a lot of discussion, many months of meetings, committee meetings, council meetings. charter review commission meetings. And I think we got some good proposals to go to the voters with. So hopefully that explains why we are where we are. So it's a do-over from the last council meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Council members, any questions? Any objection to suspension? Oh, I'm sorry, Councilman Lippert.
Yeah, so just to clarify, though, these are different ordinances than what we voted on before, correct?
Madam President?
Director?
They are, and we can repeal the other ones later on. It was just a matter of not putting so much on the agenda at one time and making it more needlessly confusing than it may already appear to be. But these are fresh ordinances introduced and voted on under suspension this evening to get them down. We do have a little more time to get these to the Board of Elections because there's two calendars. There's a state calendar and then there's the county calendar, and they're a little bit different on local issues. We always put these under the category of local issues, which are due tomorrow. That's not the case. I talked to Brent down at the Board of Elections. He indicated that we would have until September 5th, but he asked us if we're going to do so to please be as expeditious as we can, because if we get them there in September, he only has 14 days to get them approved by Columbus, by our office, to get them printed and get them out to the service members, because I think he said 46 days is when they ship service member ballots. So that's what he said to me. So if we can get this done tonight and get it to Chuck can get it down there, and we're good to go. So it's a new ordinance. Long answer to a short question, but yes, it's new, and we should do it tonight to get it down and not put that undue pressure on the Board of Elections.
And Council Clerk Massarolo, yes.
Sorry, Madam President. I just also wanted to clarify that these ordinances are the ones that were amended. There's two that were amended. These have incorporated those amendments, so these don't need to be amended or anything like that.
Thank you. Any objection to suspension? Seeing none, moving into committee assignments. Ordinance, actually, oh, I'm sorry. Did someone need me?
Okay. I thought there was another piece of suspension on Brook Park Road.
I do not have that on my list as needing suspension. Is the administration requesting that? Yes, Council Clerk.
The administration reached out to me on Monday, and I put an amended suspension list on your guys' file. They said that doesn't need to go on suspension tonight. They want it on suspension after committee meeting.
Okay, thank you.
So, Mr. Lippert, I look forward to hearing that in your committee next week. Ordinances 77, 78, and 79 will be eventually going to BZD. They will not need to have a committee meeting, a committee hearing next week, because one needs to go to the Planning and Design Commission, and we need to have public hearings for the other two. So just hold those in your thoughts that you will see those in BZD coming to you at a committee meeting soon. Resolution 2020-80, Public Safety. Resolution 2020-81, Environmental Control. Resolution 2020-82, Recreation, Public Parks and Buildings. Ordinances 2020-83 and 84, Streets and Transportation. And Resolution 2020-85 will go into Finance. And looking to schedule committee meetings for next Tuesday, August 11th. Councilman Broussard.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll schedule a Public Safety, Health and Welfare Committee meeting at 7 p.m. And I would think that we'll probably be done at 7:05.
Thank you. Councilman Schuman.
So I just have the 2020-85. That's the only one you gave me?
Yes.
Okay, this will probably take about 10 minutes. So 7:05 to 7:15, let's say. And I'd have the, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Who would you like to have there?
The HR director, of course. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Limpert. Councilman, could you unmute yourself, please?
Sure. Yes. Streets and Transportation Committee meeting at 7:15. I'd like the planning director and then planning director. Do I need the city engineer or are you going to cover it?
I can cover it.
Okay. Planning director. 7:15 to 7:25.
Thank you. Councilman Keeman.
Thank you, Madam President. We'll go Environmental Control Committee to discuss 2020-81, the purchase of a Ford truck, 725, and I would assume until just about 7:30, but since it's the last one, if it went a little longer, I think that would be fine. And I believe, I know the mayor, can you handle that, or is there someone, would you like the safety service director as well? Where is the truck going to actually, is it completely the wastewater treatment plant? Or is it?
Councilwoman Heeman, I'll take that one.
Okay,
I got it.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Councilman Kelly.
So until 7:30.
Recreation, parks, and buildings at 7:30, please.
Thank you.
The planning director and the safety service director and the mayor, please.
Thank you. We will conclude our caucus meeting at 8:12 p.m.